while leads, but Carr is strong. He catches back up to him after having to fend off the 23. He's got a great run. He's going to look underneath. The 71 does not defend. They're going to go wheel to wheel into 3 and 4. Who is going to be able to get to the line first here? Down to the inside. He's going to get pinched. They're going to come together. They're going to come together. Is Tim Downey Jr. going to get this? He runs into him. Who is going to get to the finish first? It's Massey.
That is Deterk trying to go defensive. Wanmi says, all right, that's fine. I'm going to go to the outside. You see him taking the widest line into that corner possible, just keeping momentum up around the outside, not taking no for an answer, and by sheer force of will alone, that is Wanmi Costa up into the final podium position.
Off of turn 4, Valenteus looking for the launch. He gets it right up to the wall. He's got a good lot of speed. Is this enough speed, though? As they come to the line and getting ready to cross, he goes around the outside, but it's not enough. And it is going to be Togo Hisada taking the win. Vincent has got the bit between his teeth right now. He said enough of this back and forth and allowing him through. I want the spot back, and he's going to get to the inside. Down into Sayat. Can he complete the pass? Keeping up the momentum. Caven Norris is going to remain wheel to wheel down into Vert, but it's not really a too wide turn. They're going to make it one this time, and Norris gets it back around the outside. So this is the 48 car here off of turn 4. Watch this. Really has to catch it. Just trying to, I bet he didn't lift that whole way. I think his foot was on the throttle the whole time.
Probably just a little bit too far back, trying to make that run up on Evan. Evan goes to cover the grass.
Espes blocked to the grass, side by side, 2 by 2 for the race win. Now nearly 3 wide. Hyde's taking a peek.
We've got a double here. They're going 2 wide and 2 wide. Oh, falling in. Oh no, we got contact. Cam Evan goes around. Oh, that's got to be rough. As
it's
we
not
have
over
the
yet.
local favorite going in, and Espes going for the lead, but Williams trying to get in there too. Where are we going to set up here? Coming into the final corner.
Williams trying to get the run on the left side, on the right side. Espes on the left side. A drag race. Williams takes the victory at Mount Panorama Circuit. Brandon Hawk in 3rd, Espes in 2nd.
After last week's stunning finish at Rockingham, we now enter the playoffs. But the league has elected to kick things off with a bit of an unusual start. With Sonoma's road course encouraging some very specific skills, this may skew the beginning of our chase. Who will be the Roadmeister tonight? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 10 of the Outsider Racing League, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Joey Tebben. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. After over 30 years here, NASCAR has become a staple at this road course. Let's head to our track guide to learn a little bit more about it. Welcome to Sonoma Raceway. One of California's most famous road courses, it resides just north of San Francisco. It's been host to a wide variety of styles of racing, including sports cars, Indy cars, motorcycles, and even drag racing. But in recent decades, it's become most well known for holding one of NASCAR's rare road course weekends. For most tracks, this cornucopia would be a stretch, but considering the array of 5 different layouts to choose from, it's quite easy for the circuit to be adapted to any series needs. Most of the layouts clock in at around 2 to 2.5 miles in length and always feature an impressive amount of elevation change. This means many of the corners present the driver with a blind entry or apex. Some of these have a very distinct visual look, making them instantly recognizable. Corners such as the chute and the final hairpin feature street course-like walls surrounding the track, while the carousel is both picturesque and challenging. With few long straights, passing is often considered very difficult, but it rarely leaves races with a lack of action. Mistakes can be easy to make, offering opportunities for the brave. And it's not just the track itself which is tough. The pit entry's narrow path requires precise driving for those looking to make up time and leapfrog their competitors during stops. With more than 40 years of racing under its belt, Sonoma has become a staple for West Coast race fans. And what could be better than a glass of vino on a sunny hillside while the sound of engines echo around you? Well, Joey, it's the shorter version that they're going to be running tonight compared to what NASCAR has come back to in recent years. But how can we expect that to play out with these next-gen cars?
Well, it's a track layout that we haven't seen run in real life in a couple of years now, ever since they moved the NASCAR races to the old carousel, and IndyCar never ran it. They always ran an alternative layout as well. So it's a unique layout for these drivers to master. It's a unique car, as we speak about every week, but most of them have been to a road course one time this season at Montreal, which isn't the most dissimilar. There's a lot more elevation change here than there is at Montreal, but there's also a lot of S's, a lot of sweeping corners, and a couple tight braking zones. So it's not too dissimilar, but the road course masters will probably be the ones who have the biggest advantage here.
No doubt about that. Now, if we take a look at the championship situation here, of course, it's changed a little bit because you'll notice it's 1,006 points all of a sudden. Well, that's because we are into the chase. So they have tightened things up, and the drivers have made some points out there that have placed the top 12 in the hunt. And now these last few races will decide who is the overall champion, with Jeremy Miller leading Halpern, Carwile, and Klinger, with Carwile and Klinger and a few others tied down there in the third position. What about today's race details, Joey? What are the drivers up against?
Well, it's different from usual because we will have a caution at halfway. It's 40 laps, not 20 laps, but fixed setup as usual, no spare car as usual, 4 tire sets also as usual, but it's a road course, so it'll go about that strategy differently, and we'll see a caution. Unlike most weeks, there will be a caution at halfway at 20 laps, where we'll pack up the field again, we'll give out those halfway points, and it'll be part of the strategy like every other week. It'll be 2 shorter stints.
Indeed, and we're going to be switching over to the qualifying session here in just a moment, so don't worry, we don't have 17 minutes of practice left here. The drivers have certainly been out there for plenty long, and you can see there's that chute that takes them down, cutting across the carousel and down into turn 6, where we may see some passes attempted. But I heard a lot of drivers talking here at the end of practice, Joey, that it seemed like the tires will probably be a big difference maker amongst the drivers. Some of them saying that overheating them really affects the performance.
Well, overheating the tires affects performance at basically every road course. You take a big honking stock car too. But especially at this place with such high-speed corners, especially here we see turn 1. I believe this is Matthew Close that we're on board with, getting his final seconds of practice in. But this is probably the most difficult corner on the track. It's about 3 corners in one. You're going up the hill. It's a blind braking zone over the hill. He's taking it nice and easy. Credit to him for staying on the track there. And then you go through the S's, a bunch more blind fast corners up the hill. You can't see the exit here, but Close knows where it is. Then down the hill, it's high speed, then a braking zone, a heavy braking zone, then more S's, then a hairpin, and then it all goes over again. So there's no real time for those tires to cool down. So if you're overheating them, it's going to be very difficult to cool them down.
And we heard some drivers saying that as well. As you can see, we've now finished up that practice session, so it's off to qualifying. And we'll see who can get that good qualifying spot. Could be important since it is tough to try and overtake at this place. There are a couple spots where we could see drivers manage to get through, but it's really not a whole lot of long straights leading into those heavy braking zones. About the best that they've got is coming down into the hairpin at 11. So we now have Tim Downey Jr. taking off up the hill and into turn 2. That's also been a point where it seems like things kind of crunch together a little bit, quite literally sometimes, at the starts of races. That turn 2, so blind up there, and it's right as the car is all unsettled after that swift left-hander there, Joey.
Yeah, the car always gets unsettled on those sort of off-camber, over-the-hill corners. down the hill here. This is the interesting part of the track. It's the part of the track they don't run anymore in real life, and it's one of the 17 layouts of this hairpin here that's just very, very strange. It's more than 90 degrees, but it changes diameters as you go through it. It's a very strange corner. Then through the S's, you got to determine how much curb you're going to take in each one of them, how much of that extra asphalt you're going to take. Don't go down that chute over there. That's the IndyCar course. And eventually, you'll reach probably what I would say is the most difficult corner on the track, actually. This final corner right here. In the next-gen car, it's looking pretty planted, but in some cars with more horsepower, it's a lot more difficult to get the car through there without sending it off into the grass. And then the final corner, made famous by Tony Stewart, I guess. Pretty straightforward. It's a long hairpin, and then get to the line. It's all over. Nice and straightforward.
Yeah, you talked about those curbs a little bit, and I've seen the Gen 6 cars have to try and tackle the curbs many times over, but not these next gens, except for our brief time that we were at Montreal. How are they looking here today? Can they take a lot of curb? You said the drivers will kind of have to determine that. Is it kind of up to your preference, as we see a little bit from Tim Downey Jr. there, or is this kind of a please don't touch?
Well, the danger of the curbs at Montreal is that if you touch the curbs, they're going to send you into the wall because the walls are so close. Luckily here, there's a lot of grass. That's not sand, by the way. I was corrected on that. It's dried grass and dirt, and there's quite a lot of it. So if you go off, if you hit one of the curbs, you jump a little bit too high, there's plenty of room to save it. You're going to slow yourself down quite a bit, but you're not going to be in the wall, and you'll be able to recover, most likely.
Interesting. Well, we'll see who gets aggressive there then as we continue to follow on board with Downey Jr. through turn 10. And I'm amazed that they've gotten away with how little runoff is out there after all these years. And then braking hard into a place with zero runoff at all on the outside of the hairpin. Just hugged up against the inside as DeCuna takes the provisional pole with a 1:16.4. Well, Welker just snatches that away immediately, and this time across the line, 17.9 for Downey Jr. In fact, he's the last of the drivers to have a time down, so not looking good for him. Looks like Chad Klinger onto the front row as we now check out the 16 car.
Actually, the 76 car now. It's been renumbered in the mid-season number shifts. It still looks like a 16, but it is a 76 as he absolutely eats that curb going down the short chute and almost dies in the tire barrier on exit there. And it looks like he's going to abort this lap. He's happy with that first lap, and it'll probably be unbeatable. He's got to be the favorite here, Mitch Welker. He's a road course fiend, a road course master. He's very good at this track specifically. So if he wasn't on pole, it would be quite a surprise, and it looks like he's going to be safely up there. Nobody in practice really got any closer to that, so it's going to take a heck of a lap from somebody to pick up at least 8 extra tenths to get anywhere near him.
All right, the 09 sending it down to see if he can overtake. Oh, and he comes in with a very early apex. I'm not sure that's the right way around there, but of course he's sitting second on the field, so maybe he's figured out a trick that I haven't. As they come across the line, Chad Klinger does not go quicker though.
No, that was definitely not quicker through the hairpin. Lost about 4 tenths on that second lap. And honestly, that might be a thing about tire life. You might be losing all the tire life on that first lap on your second lap, and it might be extremely difficult to go faster on that second one, as we see Clifton Cockrell right now. His first lap was a 1:16. See if he can improve on that and maybe prove my point, but there's quite the spread throughout the 9 drivers who have qualified so far, and that just goes to show that not a lot of people have driven this next-gen car on road courses, and when you're in a stock car league, there's always a difference in road course ability. Some drivers are great on the road courses, some are great on the ovals, some are great on specific types of ovals, and when we go to a tough road course like this, there's usually quite a bit of spread in the field, and we're seeing that now with 3.2 seconds between first and ninth.
Let's stay here with Cockrell to see what his second lap holds, but then I want to jump over to the 64 of Laughter after his first lap is finished here, because he is someone we've seen race on the road courses plenty. We talked about it a lot last time in Canada. Let's see, the 28 crosses the line. 16.9 is not going to be quicker. And Laughter's currently coming through turn 10 into 11. And he had a pretty decent run at first at Montreal, and then it kind of slipped away from his own mistakes, cost him. That was nice and tidy through that final hairpin. So as he gets ready to cross the line, is he going to show them up? It's a 15.5. It's decent. It's onto the second row, but it's certainly nothing stunning.
Yeah, Ben Lafter, even at Montreal when we ran there, I don't remember him having winning pace. I believe he finished in the top 3, but he didn't win the race. And remember, Mitch Welker wasn't there at Montreal. He missed that week, so it was a little bit more of an open field. Now he's a little bit more of a rabbit for everybody to chase, and that makes it a whole new challenge. But we'll see. Oh, my goodness, that curb. It almost flips cars as they go over it, but Ben Lafter keeps all 4 wheels on the road eventually, takes all the asphalt out and exit there to maximize that angle of the corner. It's looking pretty good, but can he go faster on the second lap? Nobody has really been able to do that, so I'll be surprised if he does.
Yeah, I have a feeling you almost have to tiptoe around for the first lap if you want the second one to be faster, which nobody is really willing to do. Trying to get that banker down on the first lap as he comes around, car just wheeling itself out to the edge of the circuit. And yeah, I look at the line of him compared to a few of the others that we've been watching, and he turns in much later to that hairpin. I think that is definitely helping him. So the 64, is he faster than the 15.5? He is, but it's by about 0.03 of a second, so it doesn't net him a spot. He's still about half a second off of Jeremy Miller and a full second off of Welker. I think Evan Adams is our next one to be able to take a time here in the 59 machine. And this one did not count. He must have had an off track somewhere that got that deleted. I think that is it for our qualifying laps that are able to be run. And indeed, yeah, as if we want to take a look at Lakatos, he's actually going down the drag strip right now.
That's my favorite part of Sonoma. You can see him from the drone there. You can drive down the drag strip. At some tracks, it's just a hole in the ground, but there's nothing more fun than cutting through the Sonoma drag strip, hitting 300 miles per hour, and then slamming into that outside wall and phasing into another dimension of reality.
What car are you getting up to 300 miles an hour down that strip? That's what I want to know.
That's the next gen.
Okay, I gotcha. So qualifying is finished. Let's go through that starting order here today. And it is Mitchell Welker, to the surprise of nobody, who is on the pole position, 0.3 over Chad Klinger. Jeremy Miller will be starting on the inside of row 2. To his outside, it's going to be Ben Lafter. I'd still watch out for him because he knows his way around road course racing. And Zach Halpern will start from 5th. It'll be Ryan Carwile in 6th position as Clifton Cockrell starts in 7th. Then it is Finney and Dacuna P8. 5th row has Lakatos to the inside and Watson to the outside.
Tim Downey, who tragically missed the chase, starts off row 6 alongside Nolan Hodgson. Then Matthew Close and Evan Adams, the last driver to set a time. Also tragically, we've just been alerted that Evan Adams, after all that drama, isn't in the chase after all. It was Zach Carr who pointed his way in. There's a lot of technicalities, but Zach Carr was in fact eligible for the chase. He is in here. He just joined with about 5 seconds until the grid, so Zach Carr will start 15th. Ray Massey will start behind him. Then David Mott Jr. and Alex Bell, making his season debut, will round out the rest of the field.
Here's a question, though. Did he practice at all? Did Zach Carr actually get any laps in before this? Because that'll be an interesting exercise if he's trying to do it from scratch out here. I really hope that's not the case, but if he does, the best of luck to him.
Well, if I remember correctly, back to Montreal, I believe Zach Carr was one of those 3 drivers fighting for the victory. He didn't win the race, but he was up there, so that at least proves that he has competence on road courses, and Sonoma was one of 2 NASCAR road courses until they added about 17 more of them. So I imagine he has some experience here, and I can only hope that he has some experience here. But even if he doesn't, he's starting at the back, so he shouldn't be able to wipe out anybody if he isn't too experienced on this track.
I'm just saying they could add, about 20 more, and I'd be happy about that. I love when NASCAR goes to road courses. These are something to behold, trying to wrangle these heavy machines around twisty courses with thin tires, too, compared to most road racing cars. And you can see them already gridding up. Of course, they're going to take a rolling start, as they usually do in NASCAR, even on the roadside. So we're going to wait for the drivers to finish finding their way to the grid, and then we'll get started here today. Don't forget about that caution, and that will be on lap 12 when they do the stage points. So that is expected. It will be a competition caution for these drivers. Otherwise, I guess it is open game on who wants to pit when, and with that early stop, I don't know. Do you think it's worth trying to split that second part after the caution into two bits to get fresher tires on there, Joey?
I don't think so, because pitting for fresher tires is going to take so long, especially with as long as this pit lane is. So I don't think an extra stop would actually be worth it. But, you know, I can never predict anything here, because there could be some kind of glitch in the next gen car where after a couple laps we lose 2 to 3 seconds and pitting would actually be worth it. So the drivers will hopefully have that data from practice, and they'll hopefully know what they're doing. But honestly, what I think we're going to see is they're going to go 20 laps, or they're going to go 20 laps without pitting. They're going to pit under caution, and then they're going to go 20 laps to the end.
Well, that's the thing, though. The caution is on lap 12, is what we've been told. So it makes it a longer second portion of this. So that'll be 20, well, not 28 laps, I guess, when they throw the caution. It'll be about 25 then. So still somewhat longer, significantly longer, really, than that first 12-lap stint that they do, just about twice as long. So I'm kind of curious to see how the tires will last, as I think we're waiting on Carr, Bell, and Chambliss to find their way to the grid, and then the Porsche pace car will lead them around. And it should be a fun one. We've already got to witness at least one road course so far this season for the Outsiders Racing League, but that is a very different track to what we've got here. Much longer lap than what they run here at Sonoma. It's cycling around at just a few seconds over a minute to try and get around this place. And this will give us a good view of some of the many elevation changes, something that you definitely don't have over at the Isle Notre Dame there in Canada.
Unfortunately, it looks like Carr and Bell haven't taken to the grid after all. Brian Chambliss, he's on admin duty. He was never going to start the race, but Carr, even joining at the last second, it looks like he might have a little bit, not enough time. So if he doesn't have enough time, he's going to have to start from the pits eventually. It said he connected, but he's not here, so who knows what happened to him. And Alex Bell as well, we're not seeing him, so it'll be 16 cars on the grid, I believe, maybe 15, I don't know. I can't quite count, but it's going to be 14 cars versus one car, the 76 of Mitchell Welker, if I have my predictions here. And it's going to be him versus himself as well. If you're that dominant, it's easy to get in your own head and make mistakes and take it too easy, which he's got to be careful not to do. I remember at COTA last season in this series, he was dominant, he was dominantly fast, and he took himself out of it. So hopefully this is redemption day for him, and the rest of the field is going to hope that it isn't.
And let's take a look at the weather real quick. Thankfully, it's pretty ideal conditions. Only 77 Fahrenheit on the track surface and very little wind. Not that these heavy cars would get pushed around too much if we were getting some gusts. So pace car is in, and they are going to give control over to Welker here. He could go right after that hairpin, or he could decide to try and check everybody up and wait. Let's see what he decides to do. In fact, he's a little bit behind Klinger, and he's going to catch him napping because of that. He is off like a shot. Klinger will stay in that second position as the green flag is out, and they come up to turn 2. Are they going to be clean through this perilous right-hand corner? And Chad Klinger is off into the grass. He is going to slip off to the other side of the course and slide into the walls as we got a car spinning. That's the 26 of Halpern. Other than those two, it looks like we're through.
Klinger just tried to send it a little bit too deep through that first part of the corner, and he clipped the grass on the inside of the corner. That just killed his momentum. And in the background, there's Zach Carr. Somehow he made it to the grid. Zach Halpern is well in trouble, but that's the difficult part about that turn 1. It's multi-apex. It's multiple corners in one. And if you mess up one of them, it's impossible to recover almost.
I think Carr may have done a pit lane start. Yes, it looks to be the case. So they started from the back. There's a little bit of a look here into the S's. That was Carwile trying to see if he could do something to Cockrell, but it's single file through here. Rare that double file works amongst these cars. Coming down into the braking of the hairpin for the first time. Little bit of a battle in front of them between Miller and Laughter, but no change in those positions for second and third. Down into the right-hander, Cockrell, early apex once again, and he's tight off the corner.
And nobody went for the dive early on into the hairpin, but Carwile all over the back of Halpern, or not Halpern, Cockrell here up the hill. Does Cockrell do the same thing that Klinger did lap one? No, he doesn't. He takes a much tighter line. It makes him slower exiting the apex here, entering the apex here, but it works out in the end because he's got a much better exit than Carwile, and Carwile's going to lose a couple car lengths just because of that compromised exit from Cockrell parking it on the apex.
Klinger's running 15th currently of our 17 starters as we watch Miller now leading Ben Laughter. These two have been nose to tail since the drop of the green. Right now, about 2.5 seconds behind Welker, who, as we kind of expected, has dropped everybody immediately. Now through the S's once again, and once again we get a little bit of a side-by-side battle, and this time Carwile is able to get through. Did he make the pass out of 6? I think he did.
Yes, he did. I didn't see it happen, but he finally had enough of sitting behind Cockrell, and he took advantage of it. And we'll look back. Did Cockrell make a mistake to open the door?
Carwile, though, slips out of turn 10, somehow catches it. Cockrell tries to fight back into the hairpin. He's going to have to go the long way around, and it looks like he is able to at least hold on to it, but not keep the position over the 71. I think we've got a chance to take a look at the replay of the initial pass on the 71 over the 28. That was out of turn 6 this last lap. It was actually a brilliant bit of work from Carwile just to take advantage of the tiniest of slip-ups from Cockrell.
Yeah, I went back and looked, and it wasn't a terrible error. It was just getting a little bit offline, and then as you can see here, this 28 in front, the black car, Clifton Cockrell just goes in a little bit too deep, completely misses the apex. Carwile nails the apex and says, "Thank you very much, I'm coming through." Easiest pass I'll ever make. And he almost threw it away a couple corners later, but he is still ahead, and now he can hopefully start to streak away and maybe close up the gap to Laughter and Miller 6 seconds up the road.
It's kind of cool, though, seeing that sort of oval mentality helping out, whereas a lot of road drivers maybe would have tried to outbrake him into the corner. Carwile set him up on corner exit, just made sure that the car was pointed where it needed to go, as we see that little slip up there. And they're returning to the exact same spot now on lap 3. This time, though, Carwile's got a handle on it, so Cockrell can't try and get side-by-side here into the hairpin. Dacuna is chasing them there in that white and black car with the green numbers, trying to play catch-up. In fact, I believe, yeah, Dacuna is one of our 5 that is in the Dash for Cash today.
Yeah, I neglected to mention that at the start of the broadcast, but we do have our 5 Dash for Cashers: Massey, Downey, Halpern, Watson, and a third one, Chad Klinger. So
yeah,
them 5, they're all here for the Dash for Cash. Same as usual, $50 in bonus. And then I believe the other 1, 2, 3 bonuses are also up for grabs. But that'll be an extra bonus for Finian if he can pass 5 extra cars. Chad Klinger if he can move his way through the field. We know he's quick, but he's got 13 spots to make up after that mistake. So it could still happen, but it's looking difficult.
Well, down through the short chute once again. Some of our stragglers just working their way through turn 6, Mott Jr. and Klinger there. Chad trying to make his way back through. Has got a lot of work cut out for him. Ooh, and a little bit of a look from Laughter that time. Down in the braking, seeing if he could shake Jeremy Miller. Didn't work out, but look at how tightly he is following him as we ride on board.
Yeah, Laughter all over the back of Miller here. He just needs one mistake and he'll be through. Up through turns 1 and 2, and I think 2A comes a little bit later, but on the apex, Laughter just seems to have a lot more mid-corner speed than Miller. So it's only a matter of, Matthew close in big trouble at the hairpin.
Yeah, I think he self-spun. It looks like he just got on the power a little too much and whipped it around. That'll send him down to 16th place, unfortunately, because of that mistake. Only Halpern behind him. In fact, he's right behind him. You can see him right there in the 26. He's one of those that had a similar mistake in this corner, which is going to be another one for Close, who goes up and into the grass. He'll get back onto the track, but he is now the last one on the field.
Yeah, Close didn't get much in terms of practice. He only got a couple laps in practice, a couple laps in qualifying. He did make up 2 seconds from practice to qualifying, so clearly he found something, but unfortunately he's just gotta keep logging those laps, if I can ever say the word correctly. And the rest of this race will probably just be like a practice session until that caution comes, and maybe he'll be able to use up his skills then.
By the way, I checked Carr's fastest lap compared to the others around him, and he's actually good enough for probably about mid-pack if he keeps this up. Then that doesn't take into account consistency as well. Halpern just managed to get by Evan Adams, so he's now up into 15th as well, having started this race within the top 5. But we turn our attention once again to Ben Lafter and Jeremy Miller up and over turn 4, down the hill and into the braking of 5 now, looking to try and set himself up for another good opportunity. He has again been putting the pressure on, but just hasn't been able to attack to the point that he can get an overlap.
Yeah, there's been a little bit of inconsistency from Lafter. Miller might be consistently a little bit slower, but Lafter hasn't been able to consistently beat him in terms of lap times and beat him in terms of actually hitting the apexes. So he's been all over the back of him, but he hasn't been consistent enough to actually make the move through the second to last corner here. He's not going to be close enough to go for a dive into the hairpin again, and that's going to be the critical corner. If he can get closer through that last corner, he should be able to send it to the inside if Miller doesn't defend too hard, but he just hasn't been able to get close enough yet.
Ooh, he's looking very good off of the hairpin, though. Is this going to be enough? No, he wiggles a little bit, coming through the kinks along the front stretch. It is a terrifying bit of track. As you mentioned, it's not a street course like we saw at in Montreal, but that portion is nothing but walls along the sides, and 64 does not give it up. By the way, Halpern got another one. This time, though, Zach Carr, the 26, is really on this. In fact, he's quicker than Carr, at least based on his fastest lap by some margin. A 17.1 at 1.69 make that now for Halpern, bettering his best lap.
Yeah, normally we see these two Zachs battling for the win. It's kind of strange to see them battling for 14th here, but they are still putting on a show as usual, the 26 and the 27. Neither of them got an especially large amount of practice. Halpern did, and now he is hopefully going to move his way forward in the race. He is finally clear of Carr after making that mistake on lap 1, but can he clear him? Can Carr learn some? Oh, I just looked forward at Lafter, almost got to the back of Jeremy Miller. Looking at two things on my screen at once, and Lafter's clear.
He's side by side with him. He is by. He snookered him into the final hairpin, somehow found an opening, and Jeremy Miller will get bumped down to 3rd.
And I think that's going to be the last we see of Miller in 2nd, because Lafter just looked so much faster, and he finally managed to string it together. Hopefully he'll be able to streak off into the distance now. I don't think he'll have anything for the leader, but he'll probably have something for 2nd here, and maybe he'll be able to sneak something once we get to the caution and once we get to the restart, and maybe that's the way he'll take the lead, and maybe he'll have fantastic defensive driving skills to hold the 76 back for the 28 laps we're going to go after the caution.
We'll see. I feel like this is a smart call from the 64, though. I mean, we're already on lap 8, so there's no point in trying to save the tires as we watch a little bit behind them down into 5. Downey being chased by Watson and Hodgson. Currently, this is for the 8th position. But yeah, I mean, what's the point trying to hold on to the tires here in this first part, since you know you're going to get a caution, and probably a lot of drivers are going to be ducking into pit lane.
Exactly, and whether they like it or not, the drivers are going to be destroying these tires. It's very difficult to save them over the course of a 12-lap stint. So you can see with every single driver in the field, the leader, Mitch Welker, his qualifying time was a 1:14.4. His last lap was a 1:16.3. So that actually is that 2-second a lap difference I was mentioning in the pre-race. So if it is that big, it might be viable to pit on lap 20 or 30, 26, 46, 36, whichever multiple of 6 it is, to split that second stint in half, and you will actually make up quite a bit at a time, but it depends on how long that pit delta is, and if it's not too long, it might be viable to pit here and pit for tires under green. I
think lap 28 will about split it in half. So yeah, the drivers who will want to try and do a two-stop strategy may attempt that. I think we had a spin from Evan Adams. Don't need to go to it. Well, no, we are already on it as he gets the car rolling once again. We're close to getting our first lap cars, too, because Welker is already coming up to the hairpin himself as we see those two behind him. Second place now for Ben Laughter, trying to do a little bit better than he did at Spa. Was just outside the podium and broke his streak today, unfortunately, in the GTOs, in the Camel GT series, as he had been spending a lot of races in a row, finishing in those top 3 spots. But a second place finish here will certainly help him kick off the chase with a nice few points. Question is, can he keep that up once they get back to oval racing as they come around through turn 2?
And he's not running away as much as I thought he would. Miller was very close to him into the hairpin as James Watson lets 3 cars by. I don't know what happened to him. Does he have damage? Did he spin or what? But Watson's in trouble back there in 12th.
Well, Hodgson got by into the hairpin, and I think after Klinger got through and he saw the 23, I think he just didn't want to fight. I think he's just trying to get this thing to the end. So he'll fall down to the 12th position. And, wow, Klinger definitely making good on his pace to get back into this, coming up to Nolan Hodgson. And Hodgson goes a little bit wide. They're allowed to do that, but I think he lost a little bit of speed because of it. Down into turn 6, showing his nose, but Hodgson says no. Oh, but he spins the tires up, almost gets into the side of Klinger. Klinger checks up because of that, and he loses his spot instead.
I think Klinger might have accidentally upshifted or downshifted there, because after Hodgson made that mistake, he lifted, which I can't blame him for doing. He stayed out of trouble, and then he just didn't go after that. So I don't know what happened there, but like I was going to say before, Klinger is showing his pace here. He qualified second. He didn't qualify 14th, so he shouldn't be back here fighting for 10th and 11th and 12th, but he will still be fighting for 10th and 11th and 12th if he makes mistakes like that when he's trying to pass people.
Ray Massey getting a nice move done there in the hairpin over Nolan Hodgson. Oh, Hodgson getting a little squirrely, coming past the front straightaway, up into the braking for turn 2. Nobody is close enough, but Klinger quickly recovers from his mistake. Speaking of mistakes, the 23 goes wide off of the second corner. Thankfully keeps it from going off into the grass, but he lost a bit of time once again to the 95 of Hodgson.
Klinger's got to be a little bit more aggressive here down into the short chute and down into this braking zone. He had the move made, and then he just kind of backed out of it when Hodgson had a little bit of a wiggle. He's going to send the nose in, but he's going to back out of it again. Klinger's not being very aggressive here, which is interesting because if I was him, I'd be being as aggressive as humanly possible to make up as many positions as possible to start in as good of a position as possible once we get to the restart. But he seems kind of content to hang back here behind some of these slower drivers.
I wonder if he's thinking long-term, though. He doesn't want to get wrecked here today. Because remember, we don't have any cautions. If you do wreck or spin out there, they just have that one competition caution. And he's going to pit in, actually. Ah.
That's an interesting strat. And he's not going to go a lap down. So if the whole field pits under caution here, Chad Klinger's going to be the leader.
That is some forward thinking. However, Welker is actually coming out of turn 6 right now. There you see him on screen. So as the 76 weaves his way through, can we see Chad Klinger get back out in time? Because he's just hitting his pit stall now. Welker heading up towards the braking for the hairpin here soon. There's the left side tires into the hairpin now for the 76. He's going to have to hustle. He is out, and you're right. He did get back just as the caution flies. All right, then. So one lap more, but not really any under heavy pace for Klinger on those tires. Will this get him the track position that he desires?
But now he's got to catch back up to everybody. He lost all that time. He's not going to gain any positions out of it if he can't catch the field in time.
That's true. But for what it's worth, Mitch Welker is currently out of turn 4 into 5. And so even at a bit of a slow pace, I think Klinger, yeah, which he is running, I can tell he's babying those tires right now.
I think Klinger just pulled an absolutely galaxy brain maneuver. I don't know how nobody else thought of that, unless it's against the rules. Maybe I didn't read the rule book clearly enough. Maybe Chad didn't read the rule book clearly enough, but I don't think he broke any rules by doing that. I don't think there was anything saying he couldn't do that, and I think he's going to be the leader here, if everybody pits at least.
Exactly, yeah. As soon as he did it, that's why I was having that moment, because it was like, well, duh. Why wouldn't you do that if you know that the caution's going to come out right then? Try to take everybody by surprise and get the track position, since it is tough to try and pass here. Welker, well, is he going to catch the drivers? Maybe he was babying it too much, because Welker's coming out of turn 10 right now. We saw Klinger was only just getting past the start-finish line. There you can see them heading in right here.
Well, it's a 41-second pit delta, as we saw Klinger do. So is he within those 41 seconds? Well, it's going to be a race against time here. And I was just going to say that NASCAR, in real life, they banned pitting within 1 or 2 laps of the stage caution coming out, because they didn't want something like this happening. But clearly, they didn't ban it here, and Klinger's trying to take advantage of it. But he's through the S's now, and this is going to be agonizing for just about everybody. Because even though Klinger might not get the lead, he's definitely going to pass quite a few drivers, and they're going to be working to get as quickly out of the pits as they possibly can.
Yeah, Klinger is just coming through 10. I'm pretty certain he's not going to get in the lead, because there's left side tires for the 76, and he is out and rolling. Klinger is just coming out of the hairpin right now. Is he going to get anybody, though? Just a couple, I think. It looks like he will cycle in, I believe, behind Tim Downey Jr. and Ray Massey. Yes, so Klinger up to 10th, which actually puts him just about where he was if he wouldn't have pitted. So I guess nothing gained, nothing lost in this situation.
I mean, I can't blame him for trying it, but he only got by Nolan Hodgson, I think, and I think the babying of the tires, like you said, on that first lap, he was just going a little bit too slow. Let me see if I can find his lap time. Yeah, he did a 1:31, then a 1:42, then a 1:20. And those were just a little bit too slow with the pit stop interspersed, and unfortunately he didn't make anything up from that strategy, and I guess that's why nobody else tried it.
Yeah, well, that answers that question. If he had really pushed it, he maybe would have gotten, about 4 more positions potentially there. So, but he would have had a lot more worn tires in the process. And they're talking to some of the drivers here, trying to make out what they're saying. Looks like we missed most of that message, unfortunately. So your order now is Welker back to the lead. Lafter retained his second position. Miller is in third, and then Carwile P4. Cockrell up to 5th at this point. They're all catching up to the pace car now.
This restart's going to be critical for Ben Lafter, because we saw Welker pull like a 10-second gap to second place in that first stint, and that was only 12 laps. So we got double that on this second stint. So Lafter either needs to force Mitch into a mistake here on the restart and force him to lose a couple dozen positions, or he needs to get by him and then use every defensive bone in his body to hold him back for a little while, because if he can't do either of those things, I think the winner is essentially decided unless something goes horribly wrong for him.
Looking at the lap times, and unfortunately for everybody hoping to try and maybe undercut Welker and use some sort of tire strategy, I don't think that's going to work, because Mitchell's fastest lap was a 1:14.6. The next fastest lap out on the track is a 15:9 from Jeremy Miller. So nobody is even touching the pace that Mitch Welker has been able to put on. As you can see, the lights are off in the pace car, so we're already double file. And the good news is, though, is that anybody in the back willing to risk it could try and duck in, see if that gets them enough pace to try and come through and get at least a few positions. But we'll have to wait and see who is willing to try and roll the dice. There goes the pace car. And once again, Welker kind of backing up a little bit. Is Laughter going to fall victim to the same thing, or is he going to hold back here? No, unfortunately, Laughter is ahead as well of the 76, and as he waits for him, now he finally gets the go, but unfortunately it's going to lose him a spot as there goes Jeremy Miller to his inside, and he takes the place away. All that hard work is gone for the 64.
And he's probably going to be frustrated.
Oh! Well, frustrated enough to get into the side, barges the 30 out of the way, and he gets that spot right back. It was brave, it was aggressive, but that's stock car racing, and he's back through.
I was going to say he would probably be unhappy that Mitch seemingly jumped the start, but he didn't. It was Ben's own fault that he got so far ahead of the 76 through the hairpin, and that allowed the 76 to just run away with it and pass him and leave him there basically sitting. So it was Ben's own fault, unfortunately, that he lost all that ground, and he is ahead of Miller, so he didn't really lose anything, but he did lose quite a bit of ground.
By the way, Chad Klinger already up to 8th position from 10th, so 2 spots in less than 1 lap at this stage as Miller tries to chase down Laughter. Laughter tries to keep up with Welker, but there's no hope on that. First lap done, and he has about 2 seconds over the 64. A little bit of challenges there in the mid-pack as Cockrell and DeCuna try to go side by side. Doesn't net a spot for the 94.
Yeah, unfortunately, no banking on that last corner. This isn't Zandvoort, so you can't really pass around the outside there unless you're on much fresher tires. So while Finian thought about it, didn't quite work on Cockrell, but he's all over the back of him, and that was a not too great turn 2 from Cockrell. So if Finian can hold on to the back of him, he might be able to get up to 5th here. Cockrell slowly but surely falling back to, I think, where he was competing in the first stint of the race. Carwile's going to leave him behind, and he's got a hungry pack of drivers behind him.
Ooh, a little bit of a mistake from Lakatos back there. That opens the door for Klinger. Klinger sends it in deep, almost gets into the side of DeCuna, who gives him a wide berth to make sure he doesn't make contact. And as they come down through the S's, it's looking like DeCuna might have to play defense here in a second.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a very large dive bomb from Chad Klinger here. If he can hold it to the back of him through the final. Oh, Finian way, way, way offline. Doesn't even need to be a dive bomb. Chad's just going to drive by him in a straight line. And Finian's going to be vulnerable. His teammate's not going to go for the move, but I think that's Downey just shoving Casey Lakatos into the corner. Massey's back there. There's quite a train behind Finian here.
Yeah, Carr and Massey side by side. You can see from the onboard looking backwards, and Carr is going to get himself now into 10th place. Nicely done by the 27. Big hill here at the start, and that camera angle certainly shows you just how big it is. So Klinger up to 6. That's 4 positions in just a couple laps.
Yeah, Klinger slowly but surely moving back up to where it really should be. It was a very costly mistake in turn 1, lap 1, but it seems like he didn't really get any damage on the car. He just barely brushed the wall, and he is riding high here. He's already made up about 10 spots. Now next up is Clifton Cockrell and Ryan Carwile, who are going to be tougher. He's passed the drivers who were mostly further off pace, but these top 5, they've been the fastest consistently through qualifying and the race, all up into the 115s. So it's going to be a tough order for Klinger to drive his way all the way back up to 2nd, but he's going to be pushing as hard as humanly possible, and who knows, maybe he'll try and pull another alternate strategy here.
Halpern also got by. Oh, did something happen to Carr? Yes, it did. Carr and Downey Jr. off at turn 10. This is a high-speed corner, and unfortunately, I think Carr got a little overambitious. He went side by side through there.
Yeah, I watched it. He just kind of washed up into Downey. It's extremely difficult as he tries to drive it into the paddock, gets stuck in the fence, but it's extremely difficult to go side by side through there, and he just washed up almost oval style into the side of Downey. You can see it here. It's the second to last corner, just slides up, sends Downey wide. Downey just barely touches the wall, and then Carr drives back on track right in the path of David Mott, and unfortunately Mott was the one who got the worst of it.
Oh. Sad to see that happen. Yeah, I don't know why he wasn't just that little bit more patient to wait for the hairpin, because that was never going to work. Almost Watson getting a piece of it too. There you see the 4 coming to a halt on what used to be called the island, back when they had to have some pit stalls inside there. Thankfully not anymore. So, oh, and Dacuna and Licato's side by side just now. This is into the hairpin. Looks like Licato's going to be able to get by Dacuna on that one. A big pass, that one, as Finian gets him, or excuse me, Casey gets himself into 7th place. So passes are happening. It's not proving impossible out here. Just got to be ambitious and got to hope that the tires will grip once you hit the binders.
Yeah, that was a great pass from Casey. He was a little bit oversped into the corner, but he did get it slowed down, and his teammate let him by there. So that's Casey up to 7th place. Both of these guys, both of the Sim Motorsports cars, very effective road course drivers, very effective road course racers, and all sorts of disciplines. So I'd expect them to maybe move their way up through the field a little bit more. They're lower than I would have expected them to be. So maybe Cockrell, maybe Carwile will be on the menu a little bit later, but as of right now, Licatos is going to be streaking away from his teammate. Clearly, that was an opportunistic move and at a perfect time because Dacuna's fallen all the way back here.
What if we could get a lap comparison between Welker and Laughter, the 76 and the 64? Because it doesn't look like Laughter's lost a whole lot of time. I think since he's been freed up from behind Miller, as we see the 50 take it in deep once again. And yeah, so they're on the screen a little slower, but it's not as drastic. Lap 16, that was when he was battling back and forth with Miller on the restart. So that makes sense. But other than that, it's not a 2-second lap gap like we saw from some of the other drivers.
Well, that might just be because Mitch is saving his tires. He knows this is a long stint. He's probably going to commit to one stop if he's this slow. And while both of these drivers are very familiar with road course racing and tire conservation, I think Mitch might just be doing it a little bit more than Ben is, and that's why we're seeing the gap come down just a little bit, or at least not expand as much as it has been in the past.
That's a good point. Could be playing the long game out there. And will that mean that Laughter, is he able to save his tires as much as well, or is he pushing 210% coming down into the corner there? Mitch Welker managing to successfully navigate the final hairpin just as Laughter does as well. Both of them not sending it in too deep, as it's looking pretty easy to do so in these cars currently. 19 laps to go. Again, if drivers want to try and split up this second stint, they'll probably want to try and come in with 12 laps to go at the upper left of your screen.
Halpern and Dacuna are going at it into turn 1 here. The Finian's fall back continues. Oh, and it was a very bad entry into turn 2. He went way too quick through the first part of the corner. Now Halpern's going to be all over the back of him. It's been an underrated drive back forward for Halpern. Although all the credit was given to Klinger, but Halpern did the same thing from 5th. Now he's trying to make a move up to 8th. Finian, can he hold ahead? That's a, that was way too much curb
from Dacuna, but he's going to defend the inside. The 26 says, that's all right, I'll go the long way around, and he is going to take 8th place with a nice move. That also slowed both of them up quite a bit. Ray Massey gains and starts to join in on the fun, and he brings Hodgson with him.
It's almost a 4-way battle here, as Finian is now in the clutches of Massey. As you said, is Massey going to send it into the final corner? Finian getting out of shape on entry here. I think if he's opportunistic, he might be able to send it in there, and he will. Casey Licato style. 23.94. 23 gets through easy as can be. Finian hasn't been defending these too hard.
Also, Klinger got by Cockrell that lap, so up to 5th place for the 09 machine as well. 12 seconds off the leader. Definitely not as quick as the leader, though. But Klinger looking like, I think he could run down Carwile. Miller might be a different order. It all depends on how these tires last once we get closer to the end of the race. There's Miller on your screen now, and the bright purple number 30. swinging it off of turn 6 and into the S's, all on his lonesome, honestly, about 3 seconds behind Laughter, 3.5 seconds ahead of Carwile.
Yeah, it's quite the field spread at the moment, but as the tires start to wear, hopefully we'll see some of the drivers who have been better at saving their tires actually closing up on some of the others. Looks like the closest battle on track is still that battle with Halpern and Dakuna and the rest of the gang that we saw before, but there's now about 8/10 between all of them. They're not nose to tail by any means. So while they're close, while one mistake is probably going to put you in the clutches of the driver behind you, it's not the closest racing at the moment.
This is where they can't get bored, though, Joey. They've got to try and focus. Little mistakes will cost them, especially a lot of slipping and sliding. Tire management, again, seems to be of the utmost importance, and keeping them underneath you up the hill once again into turn 2. And that was a little bit of a look there from Hodgson on Dakuna. He was way too far back to make anything stick, but he got at least close enough to scare that 94, I imagine.
Yeah, Hodgson's been trying that for the last couple laps, and it hasn't worked once. It's just killed his exit speed there. So while he might be able to maybe spook Finian into a mistake, I think Finian knows what he's doing now. So Hodgson is either going to have to get a lot closer so that dive actually works, or he's just going to have to maybe tuck in behind him and get closer for the latter half of the track. But I was talking about Finian falling back. He definitely hasn't lost Massey, or Massey hasn't lost him. He's still on the back of him, but we'll see if he is better on offense than he has been on defense so far.
Keeping an eye on Klinger too, since I think last 2 laps were definitely faster than Carwile. Down into the braking for the hairpin. Amongst these 4, nobody gonna stick their nose out here. Carwile just crossed 17.2 that time. Well, Klinger slowed down a little bit as he used up the best of his tires. 17.3, that's about 0.6 off of his previous lap. And he's still got Cockrell pretty close behind him as these 4 now coming up into turn 2. Everybody managing to keep from going a little too wide. I know that's been always my difficulty, is trying to judge just how much speed you can carry, not dipping your wheels into the grass on that exit.
Oh dear, there's the grass.
That is not the racing line. And Dakuna loses another one, this time to Hodgson. He didn't need to scare him off in 2, just had to do it in 4.
Yeah, that was something I saw Evan Adams do a little bit earlier before he disconnected. Just over the crest of the hill on these old tires, Finian just got loose. Good on him for saving it, not throwing it into the wall, but that's what can happen on these old tires. As you get light over the top of the hill, you lose grip, you spin it, and that's what happens when you lose that grip.
Trying to remember which driver it was. I want to say Ryan Hunter-Ray, who had a big shunt there in IndyCar one year and actually had back injuries because of it, I believe.
It was Will Power.
Ah, that's what it was. Yes, Will Power.
And was it Nelson Philippe? It was some driver who I think we never saw again after they T-boned Power there. They just never returned after that.
That's a bit of a shame. Wonder what we'll have to look up and see what he's doing then now as we come across the line once again. And Dakuna, I think he is another one that maybe has used up all the best of that rubber, because after being passed by Hodgson, he's not easily getting up to the rear bumper once again. He had to make a lot of passes too, did Finian, so that could have definitely worn him out. Well, that one was better, coming up over the crest, and is looking good under braking. So I was premature. He's back on it, and he is starting to put the pressure on again.
Yeah, trying to make up for that mistake. He was ahead of Hodgson for a reason, but now can he get back ahead of him is the question. It's the reverse of what we saw before. It's Hodgson playing defense now from Finian. Hodgson has had a misfortunate couple weeks in this series. He seems to always be in the booth with us, getting an interview after somebody sent him into the wall, but this week he's still alive. He's still 10th. He's still on the track, and he's running decently well. He's made up 2 spots, but Finian's not going away into the braking zone. Big lockup from Hodgson. I think he got a little bit scared, but Finian not going to be able to get by him yet.
I mean, maybe Nolan just likes coming and talking to us. Who knows? Maybe we're that friendly.
You know that's not true.
Let's see. Now start lap 27. 14 to go. I kind of want to see somebody roll the dice, especially guys far down the order. Tim Downey Jr. is the last one on the lead lap. Come on, let's put some fresh tires on it, see what the car can do, see if you can make up the time. His laps compared to before, he was running 117, 118. So he's actually, well, he's unfortunately been pretty consistent throughout. So that's not an encouraging sign to try and roll the dice on that one. You need a driver who's seen his pace drop off over the course of the stint to really make the best of it over the course of 12 laps. Hodgson still leading the 94 of Takuna along. Well, not anymore as he makes a mistake. Takuna sneaks by back into 10th.
Yeah, Hodgson, I think he didn't ride the curb. He just sent it too deep into the first part of the S's. Good on him to keep it on the asphalt, but these two, it just seems like one makes a mistake, lets the other by, and back and forth and back and forth. Now let's see if Finian can actually hang on to it. Into turn 1 will be the danger zone, or I think it was turn 3 where he lost it. Now he doesn't have a car in front of him. He doesn't have that target to fixate on. Can he hold himself accountable? Can he hold the tires under him?
That's the big question. Let's watch here through this first section now. Up over 2. And 3 and 4 is where we saw him lose out. Just got a little squirrely. Had to catch it before it went into the wall this time. Well, it's the opposite. It's the 95 who goes wide, and he is into the tires. Nolan Hodgson with a big thunk. And he's got a big gap down to James Watson, so he's going to be able to get it rolling. But how damaged is the car after that?
I would say quite. He went nose first in there, and that front end damage on ovals and on road courses, that's the damage that you especially don't want. Hodgson just got loose coming into the braking zone. Well, he got loose in the braking zone, and then in turn 2, where you actually need the car to be stopped, we'll see it here. He just got that little bit loose, and he wasn't able to slow the car down. Up the hill, you see, slippy,
Welker's
and into the wall.
Welker is pitted. And this is, I believe, that 12 lap to go mark that I mentioned.
That tells me that you can't make it all the way to the end on these tires, because there's no way he would be coming in unless he's trying to amuse himself if he could make it to the end.
Nobody else is pitted in. Yeah, okay, well, if I'm one of the back markers, if I'm James Watson, Takuna, Downey, Hodgson, pit in, get fresh tires. If the leader's doing it, what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Unless it's been a terrible strategic error by Mitch. He doesn't have any teammates with him tonight, as far as I know. He doesn't have Mike Hurley on the pit box. Evan Adams has gone away. He's on his own, so it's possible he just made a strategy boo-boo here, but we'll have to see. He's got 9 drivers ahead of him who now have the track position, but do they have the tires and fuel to actually make it to the end is the question. Because I think there's no way he would have done that and lost 9 positions if he couldn't make it, if he could make it to the end.
Well, now Ben Laughter sees nobody in front of him, and he leads the race, but it's by 1.2 seconds. Jeremy Miller has been closing in. He lost a little bit of time recently, but he was a couple tenths quicker consistently for some laps. And we'll see if he can keep that up, especially now that a potential win is dangled in front of them. They come over turn 4, and they still didn't come in this last time. Welker is into 10th, and he is catching up to Takuna now.
This should be pretty straightforward, and yeah, but straightforward as can be. Finian just pulls out of the way. He knows it's a different strategy, no point fighting it, but it's 22 seconds with 11 laps to go. Mitch needs to be 2 seconds a lap faster, and when Ben Laughter's running 1:17.4s, is Mitch able to run 1:15.4s for 11 laps?
I don't
so.
know.
He was running 1:16s though early into the stint. Everybody was. So can he go that fast for 11 laps? Or will the drivers ahead of him have to pit?
Well, do the tires have a bit of a cliff too? You have to wonder. Will they start to really go off at some stage, or will they continue to bleed lap time as well, as we're now down to 10 to go? Laughter about 1.1 ahead of Miller. He's been chipping away at that, so it's not just... Oh, and Klinger's in. Klinger's going to try this strategy now.
Well, Klinger, that's another...
Oh, nope, he's not. He just bashed into the wall.
Oh no. I don't know how you do that. I looked away from him and then he killed himself in the pit wall. That's very embarrassing.
I think he may have been watching his and resetting his tires.
Yeah, I just watched it. That is the worst possible place to hit. He's unlucky because if he was a couple inches to the right, he would have just gone through that hole and gone straight back out on track, which would have been better. But nope, just bonk. And he saw it at the last second.
Oh, poor Klinger.
That's terrible.
And you know, I thought at first that's exactly what he was doing. He was goofing around and he was coming back out on the track through that opening gap. But no, he just got a little bit distracted. Send that one into the not top 10. Embarrass poor Chad for the remainder of the season. As we come back now to Clifton Cockrell and Casey Lakatos, two drivers that have not pitted this time through. So we won't know if Chad Klinger could have made that strategy work down there from farther back in the field. A little bit of a defensive line from Cockrell, or did he just lose control?
Probably a little bit of both. I think he got a little bit loose on entry and then said, you know what, I might as well do this. So he takes that defensive line. And speaking of potential errors, Mitch Welker, the strategy, we don't know if it's going to pay out. Last lap, he just crossed the line. He went from a 1:14.9 to that last lap, a 1:16.1. And Ben Lafter's still running 1:17.4. So I truly don't think he can make up 19 seconds here. I think he's made an error.
Did he have to make some passes, though, that time by?
Yes, actually. He got by Ray Massey. We know Finian let him by fairly easily. I didn't see him get by Massey, but I can't imagine he got held up that badly. No, he might have. So we'll see. The third lap's going to be critical here. Even though he's going to have Halpern in front of him, he's had a little bit cleaner track for the first half of the lap, at least.
Yeah, he also was given that spot by Klinger with his incident, so that explains the multiple ones that Welker has taken. As he approaches through the S's up to Zach Halpern. Remember, Zach qualified in 5th, though, so he's not going to be as easy to pass as some of the other drivers that have kind of worked their way through. Is he going to try and send one up the inside into the hairpin? He thinks about it. He's going to show his nose. Halpern's going to give him space. We got another car in. That looks to be Cockrell.
Yeah, Clifton Cockrell into the pits from 4th. So, again, there's a lot of drivers coming in. That's the third one. The third front runner who's come in, so clearly this strategy it has some merit to it, but that's still 17.6 seconds. 1:15.8 for Welker, 1:17.6 for Lafter, 8 laps to go. It's going to be marginal, but the thing that I think is going to win Ben Lafter this race is that Mitch is actually going to have to make passes. He's not just going to be able to drive through them like they aren't there, because he's racing them for position, and I think that might be the time loss that is going to prevent him from getting up there.
And there's another unfortunate part to Cockrell coming in at this stage. That's 4 laps less that he can use those fresh tires. I feel like he's going to miss the boat. Did he not take service?
No, he didn't. He just drove through pit lane. Did he miss his box and then just
He must have.
You know, I might as well just keep driving through here? I don't know. There's been a lot of pit trouble so far this race. Everybody's trying to take the aim off Chad Klinger. They're trying to get the spotlight off him, I guess.
Mitchell Welker is going to get past Lakatos this time by into the hairpin. Kind of had a bit of a sketchy one into there. He locked him up a little bit. He's going to take the good out of these things. He had a 15.8, 15.7 this time. So Welker still definitely faster. It's a 17.1, not quite 2 seconds a lap quicker. Just under it. And it's down to 16, just under 16 seconds up to Ben Lafter.
I think the only solace that Mitch is going to have right now is if he thinks Lafter and Miller and Carwile can't make it to the end on fuel, or if maybe their tires are going to literally pop and go down to 0%, because other than that, I think he's going to be feeling a little bit hopeless right now. He's going to be thinking that his expert team of strategists, they weren't here tonight, and he made a mistake on his own. But he's got 7 more laps to overcome that 15.5 second gap. But it's such an uphill battle, and it's going to be so difficult here. You can't help but kind of root for him because it's an alternate strategy, and you always like to see the alternate strategy pay off. But with every lap, it seems more and more improbable.
I think either way, it's going to be a very feel-good story. Welker managing to climb back through with those fresh tires, or if Ben Laughter holds out and finally gets a win, even if it's on a road course, it's in an oval series, in an oval car, he'll have to feel good about that one. We see the 71 right now. This is Carwile being chased by Welker. Last time Carwile a 18-3, looks like Welker 15-7.
And the thing we've also failed to mention for this entire broadcast somehow is the chase. Ben Laughter is a chase driver. Welker isn't. Miller is. Carwile is. Lakatos is. So if Laughter wins this race, that's great for him in the chase. He's literally the last driver in the chase right now. So talk about an underdog story. If he gets a win, he's going to be in great shape here.
Will that be enough to move him up to the point? Is that the question? Will it put him all the way up to the top? But as we watch the 71, looks like we are down to 5 laps to go here in just a moment. Welker has it down to 3.4 seconds behind Carwile now. Laughter this time by 17.4, and he's been quite consistent. 17.6, 17.1, 17.7, 17.4. Little bit wavering back and forth, but the drivers were saying it is hard to be consistent in these things.
Only a 1:16.3 from Welker that time. He locked it up into the hairpin. I think he's getting a little bit desperate, and he only made up 1.1 seconds on that lap with 5 laps to go. He's got 14 seconds to make up. He needs to be like 2.5 seconds a lap faster. He needs consistent 1:14.9s, which I think is physically impossible on the tires he's on, unless Laughter's tires pop, which might happen because Jeremy Miller's catching him.
That's the 94 Dakuna. Taking a little bit of a detour around turn 2. Also, I saw a problem from Lakatos. He's half spun out of the hairpin, and Halpern picked that up as he is up into 5th now.
Miller is really catching Laughter here, which makes me wonder, did Laughter's tires fall into that like 10% range? Oh, no, they did not. And Jeremy Miller just had the worst hairpin I've ever seen. He was fishtailing that thing the whole way around, and he lost that whole second that he just made up.
Something happened to Cockrell that he came into the pits and he took a tow, but I can't see what elicited him to do so. Okay, down to 4 laps left. Laughter with a 17.2. Welker with a 15.9, once again putting the afterburners on here as he is caught up to Carwile, but this is going to slow him up, having to make this overtake. 12 seconds between Welker and Laughter. Miller has been dipping back and forth, sometimes gaining on Laughter, sometimes losing. It goes between 2.5 seconds to almost 1 second behind. But Miller just can't seem to try and crack that 64, get him to make enough of a mistake that he can try and attack. Here's our former leader now within less than half a second of Carwile.
Unfortunately, I think this may be his last pass if he's able to do this. He should be able to do it fairly straightforwardly down to the hairpin. You know, way better exit through there. And is he going to send it? No, he isn't. He's going to hang back. That's strange. I would have expected him to send it through there and be as aggressive as possible. Time is of the essence, and he's just going to hang behind Carwile here.
17.9 for Laughter. Welker with a 16.3. He is getting held up somewhat here. Slower pace that lap. Up and over through turn 2. Hard to try and overtake in this section. Quick weaving chicane left and to the right here. Now through 3 and 4. Could maybe make a dive bomb down into 5 potentially. No, he's a little tight off the corner.
Carwile, not an easy pass. Another driver in this series who's very good on the road courses. It's quite a good series in terms of road course drivers, which is sometimes surprising for series that go to mostly ovals. But Carwile doing a fantastic job of holding this 16 behind. There's a 1.4 second pace difference between them, but for Carwile, he doesn't seem to care. He's making that car as wide as possible, and I don't think Mitch is being as aggressive as possible because he knows this is probably the last pass he's going to be able to make. So eventually he should get by, but Carwile's making it as hard as he can.
Yeah, he's not letting him have it easily. He's not pulling over like we saw Dacuna do this time. He's going to try and send it. Oh, it scares him off the racing line. The 71 locks it up, and the 76 is through. So Welker back onto the podium.
And now as we cross the line for 2 laps to go, Laffer did a 1:17.3 that last lap. Mitch is going to need to do about a 1:11. So I think third's going to be his last hope, unless Jeremy Miller or Ben Laffer, for that matter, does something terribly wrong on these old tires and maybe spins it, maybe hits the wall. Something could happen, but it looks unlikely.
Well, Miller did a 1:19.4 last time. In fact, it was a 1:18 flat the lap before that. I think he's struggling a little bit. He's fallen off to about 4.5 seconds behind Ben Laffer, which is great news for the 64. The less pressure that he has to deal with, the easier it's going to be to take this one home. And he's only got to do it for a lap and a half more to finally get himself a win.
Yeah, I think Miller just pushed a little bit too hard, and we saw him at the hairpin all over the place, and I think he was just kind of flailing around for a full lap, just pushing a little bit too hard. But he's made up a little bit of ground on this lap, but through the final hairpin, just a little bit slower than Laffer. It's going to be 4 seconds for Laffer. He can baby those tires as much as he wants. He can run a 1:22, and he'll likely still be ahead of Miller.
I don't think he's going to ease up quite that much, but I'm sure he's just going to try and gingerly take this thing home. Welker still about 6.1 seconds back from Miller, so not likely to catch him on this lap. 64 has come close a couple times already. Martinsville showed what he could do. And then, of course, a couple mistakes cost him a good shot at it at Montreal. Even though he didn't totally have the pace, he kept it safe for the most of the time compared to his rivals. This time around, he has pulled the strategy right. He avoided the temptation to put fresh rubber on like the leader did, stayed out there, managed the tires, maybe all that experience on the old rubber in the Audi GTO down in the Camel GT series has paid off, because it's just one more corner to go for Ben Laffer into the hairpin. He's just got to be smooth on the throttle, and the struggle buddy car is not going to have to struggle anymore, because he is going to be your winner here today in California.
Talk about an underdog win. It's funny to call him an underdog when he was running in second all night, but it is an underdog win because there was one driver who was dominant and the strategy just didn't play off. And so it's a great story to kick off the chase.
Welker did get onto the podium with that one. And Welker's not happy with himself. It was a mistake. He must have thought that was going to be a savvy move. We had a little bit of a battle for 9th place, but it looks like it'll go to Watson in the end. But that is most of our cars now to the finish. Only 10 left on the lead lap. We're going to take a quick break here on the Global SimRacing Channel. We've got driver interviews as well as the unofficial results coming your way, so stick around.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in endorsed series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Sonoma, here with the first race in the chase for the Outsider Racing League. It kicks off with Ben Laughter finally getting a win here in the ORL. Jeremy Miller followed him home just shy of 4 seconds behind, and Mitchell Welker, who was easily the fastest driver on the day, made a strategic blunder and wound up in third, thinking the fresh tires would be enough to get him back to the front. It was Ryan Carwile who finished P4 behind him with Zach Halpern, eventually getting back to where he started in fifth, but it could have been more considering he gave up a lot of time there at the start with his spin at turn 2. Lakatos was 6th. Ray Massey from 17th to 7th. He didn't set a qualifying time, didn't need it. Certainly had some decent pace out there. DeCuna was in 8th with James Watson finishing 9th and Tim Downey Jr. in 10th.
And the used car lot, everybody multiple laps down here. Cockrell, Klinger embarrassed himself a little bit. Hodgson hit the wall in turn 2. Mott got wiped out. Zach Carr got wiped out. Close wiped himself out. Adams wiped himself out. And the other two didn't show up in the first place, unfortunately, for the race. But the driver who did show up, the driver who showed everybody up, Ben Laughter, I believe we're going to him first.
Indeed we are. And Ben, it's time to say yes to the dress. You are not a bridesmaid anymore. Congratulations on the win. How do you feel?
Let's go, baby. Yeah. Man, that feels good. All these years I've been racing on GSRC. This is actually, believe it or not, my very first broadcast win. I'm enthusiastic. I'm excited. Thank you.
I was wondering about that stat myself. Well, double congratulations then. How nervous were you then, especially when you saw Mitchell come into the pits? And did you know for a fact that that staying out on those tires would be the quicker strategy?
I kept second guessing that I had enough fuel. Just kept second guessing it. And I kept looking and thinking, okay, something's wrong. Mitch is smarter than I am. There's no way in the world that he pit and I'm not supposed to. But every time I looked at it, I had enough gas and my pace was fine. So I just stayed out and it worked out. So I'm just really excited about that.
I would be ecstatic as well. You've kicked off the chase as one of the last drivers to eke into the chase with a win. Obviously, this will help you a ton, and we've got, I believe, 3 more races after this one. Do you dare dream the impossible, a championship?
Yeah, I wouldn't start the races if I didn't dream the impossible. But, just like we talked about at Montreal a few weeks back, the dose of reality is that I'm a road guy doing oval stuff. These guys are oval guys doing road stuff. So, I'm a favorite here. I'm not a favorite at any of the ovals. And so we'll see. I'll try to ride this high and try to finish out strong and get a championship.
Well, again, I can't congratulate enough. I'm smiling from ear to ear, so I'm sure you are as well. Is there anybody you'd like to thank?
I want to thank Jeremy for a hell of a race today. I want to thank Mitch for making a terrible mistake. But, man, I feel for you, brother. I really do. That's unfortunate for you. But, thanks to ORL for coaching me and helping me get better on the oval side. I'm thrilled to be a part of it.
That was Ben Laughter, our winner here today in the 64 machine, as I believe Joey has caught up with Jeremy Miller, who finished second.
Yeah, Jeremy, I think you might have expected to be fighting for second, and suddenly that became the fight for the lead. What were you thinking when you saw the dominant leader, come in there? Did you think maybe I can't make it to the end?
No, I knew I could make it to the end. I was just very puzzled by why he did that. And honestly, was just thinking, man, I hope Ben thinks he can't make it either in pits, because that would have handed me an easy win. But he knew the fuel number. He stayed out. I don't know. I just pushed way too hard trying to catch him. If I was just hitting my marks like I normally was, I think I was actually a bit quicker and might have had a chance at it.
Well, those last couple laps, it looked to me like you were pushing yourself a little bit too hard. Were you desperate to get that win from Laughter, to get that third win of the season, or were those tires just so far gone that it was tough to keep it under control?
I honestly think when we used to come to a place like this, I wouldn't be up there at all. I'd be the guy finishing, 13 laps down and last. But so I don't really have experience running up front at these places, and I just made mistakes that I didn't need to make, because when I was hitting my marks, I was running like 4 times better a lap at some points towards the end there. He was faster in certain sections, and instead of just trying to manage for those sections, I tried pushing too hard for those sections, and it just hurt the car.
Well, I've got good news. The Sim Racer Hub statistics were just updated. I'm seeing the championship standings now. You and Laughter are tied at the top, but I'm going to put you ahead because you have 2 wins to his 1. We've got 3 races left in the championship: Fontana, Pocono, and Homestead. How are you feeling with 3 races to go?
You know, that's the all 550 stuff, and I'm pretty damn good at the plate stuff, and this car is pretty close to that with the 550 package. So I think this was this place that I was scared. So going forward, I think I'm going to be more on attack mode, and definitely think I'll have a pretty good shot at this.
Well, we wish you good luck. We wish everybody good luck. And you have anyone you want to thank before we see you again in 2 weeks?
Just my teammates at Car Racing Designs both had really rough nights, but my family watching in DC this week instead of Florida, for supporting me every week, and just that's you guys put it on the broadcast, Brian put it on the Great League. Just really angry at myself right now.
Well, that was your 2nd place finisher, Jeremy Miller. He might be angry at himself, but still a pretty good night for him as the 2 tortoises beat the hare, but we've got the hare now with Joe Peak.
Yes, it's Mitchell Welker who finished 3rd, but he was the fastest car out there easily today. Mitch, we could hear the frustration and disappointment in your voice after you crossed the finish line. Talk to us about the decision to make the pit stop. Were you certain that the tires would get you back through?
Yeah, thought the fuel was tighter, thought the tire delta was going to be greater. That's it. I went with the plan I had. And yeah, I can't say a whole lot else.
I can tell that this one definitely stings quite a bit, but it was at least a podium, and you did have to make some impressive moves to get back through there. Are you going to be showing up at any of the remaining rounds here in the chase?
I don't know where we're going. Where's next?
Auto Club, I believe.
Potentially. You know, this car sucks on bigger tracks, but we'll see, I guess. I mean, this result wouldn't deter me from going. It would be, you know, whether the car was actually fun to race there. So
I can understand. Every driver, of course, worth his salt, takes everything as a lesson to move forward. Is there anything that you feel like you've taken out of this race that you could use as a useful tidbit for when you head into another road round?
Yeah, I guess just do better. Take a better look at fuel, because I thought I was going to burn more than I did, but I did my calculation with new tires, so the burn was higher. I think that led to this partially. So just doing a more meticulous job of race prep. This is all I can really do, and not be chronically stupid, I guess. I don't know.
Well, don't beat yourself up too much. You still had just an amazing pace out there. And as I said, it was a podium. Is there anybody you'd like to shout out to while we've got you?
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Ben. I think this is his first ORL win. So, I mean, he was the one that made the right call, so he totally deserves it. So, good run for him. And yeah, I think that's really all I got.
That was Mitch Welker, who finished 3rd out there today. And before we go, we, of course, want to thank the Outsider Racing League for bringing us on to cover this season. We also want to thank the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp for more great work. And thanks to the team today, Joey, Zach, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media. And also check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. We keep a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. And we're taking a week off for Thanksgiving, so make sure and enjoy some time with the family or loved ones or your friends, because we won't be back until December 4th at Auto Club. That'll be another Saturday at 9:50 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out. Mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.